Deer season 2020 through 2021.
Today's the last day.
Today's the last day. It's done.
Thumbs up. I didn't even go hunt today.
It's February 10th.
It's February 10th. What
End of the
tags
season.
have been punched will be punched for forever.
Yeah.
This is the end. So let's hope we're all good with it.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about if it was, what we thought about it, and all the action that happened basically.
Yep.
I personally thought it was a pretty good season. My best season so far, hands
Freezer's
down.
full as fuck.
Yeah. We'll show that in a minute. We'll show that in a minute. I had a great season.
Yeah.
I don't know about you boys did. How do you feel about it?
Bottom of the totem pole, dude.
Hey man, that's okay, but how do you feel though? Do you think you did good though? That's all that
I
matters.
think I learned new shit.
Someone's got to.
Well,
Someone out of us three, someone has to be.
I have
Yes.
learned new stuff that has furthered me as a deer hunter.
That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Well, that's what each deer season is.
How do you feel? You think you had a good season?
I had a good season, but I will be honest with you, a lot of it was just the right thing happened at the right time.
Yep. That's deer hunting.
But that's deer hunting.
Yeah, that is deer hunting. Being there at the right time has a lot to do with it.
Looking
I'll take
opportunity
lucky over
across the
good.
road, you find it.
Yeah, there you go. But
We'll take it every time.
you can go ahead and tell your first story because you killed the first deer this season.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to go in order. I don't
Yeah.
know if we'll be able to keep up with it.
Well, I started the season off, let's see, I don't even remember the date. But
First day, where did we go the first day of bow season? Was it
Opening
Freedom
day
Hills?
of bow season was Freedom Hills.
Yeah,
did I
opening day
kill
bow
it
season.
opening day? Or was it a little
I
after
can't
that?
remember. You want me to look up? Did you check it in on my phone? Was
Yeah.
it my phone you checked it on? Well, I can look up and find the day.
Opening morning?
When was it there?
Right there. It was October 31st at
All right, so
11:34
2 weeks in.
a.m.
So
2
2
weeks
weeks
in.
in. I guess we had
2 weeks
hunted for 2 weeks with no luck.
Yeah. 2 weeks, no luck.
Spot right.
I'd seen some deer there. Well, we started the season off, we hunted Bankhead. Seen some deer, had some opportunities, nothing really paid off. John seen a big
Did see a
pig.
boar, had my crossbow, but I couldn't get close enough to take a shot. Me and Andy tried to follow him where he had went in then, and we could never, we couldn't get
We'd spent some time here and there and yonder, but anyways, make a long story short, Freedom Hills, Halloween morning, I was sitting there in the tree stand and sitting there all morning, ended up taking a little nap, woke up from the nap, had a doe coming right at me. I'd been in there looking for a doe. I woke up, stood up, ranged her. She was like 23 yards shot. She ran like 70 yards and I seen her go. That was the first kill of the year. She went down right at the road.
It was the best drag we had all year
Yeah,
long.
like John literally
Hands down.
pulled the truck up and she had died like 30 yards off the road. It was pretty cool.
Easiest drag all year, hands down.
Yeah.
It only got harder from there.
Yeah, it only got harder from there. So, deer number two. Deer number two.
Who was it? It was my spike, I think.
Was it your Winston County
Yep,
spike?
Winston County spike, dude. Which
Yeah.
we'll put a picture in the video. It's unreleased footage, I guess. I don't really have much. Well, I think I have like one little video from it. Anyway, it was pretty crazy. We went and hunted a new spot this year that was, it's actually national forest land. And that's that's the reason why we wanted to go hunt it. There was an early gun hunt there this year in that specific county.
Yeah.
I think gun season in Alabama for us normally opens November 21st, and they had a gun season that opened on November 7th,
Yeah.
I believe.
And there's the national forest land that stretches down into there.
There's lots of
Region,
national
so-
forest land that's next to WMA land, which you can only hunt on certain dates, but the national forest land you can hunt basically every day of the week.
Yeah.
So we went over there because we were just wanting to scope some spots out, and we found a bunch of good new spots. Bunch of good spots. Place we call Deer Tracks Alley,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fox Squirrel Field.
Fox Squirrel Field.
There's a couple good places over there. I shot and missed a running bug that I shouldn't have ever shot at over there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of deer over there. But on this specific day, we had all hunted that morning, I think, and I don't think any of us really saw anything. I think I might have saw like one doe that morning and a cutover or something.
Yeah.
And then we met up, went and got some lunch or something. We came back and hunted a little bit. I dropped them both off at a different spot. I dropped you off, I believe, at Deer Tracks Alley, and I dropped you at a place across the road that was like a little green field. But you went and hunted the back of it, like went into the green field and then walked into the woods. I didn't know where I was gonna hunt, but I was the guy that drove that day, so I had a little bit of room to go within a couple miles of this area. And I just got to look on the map, and there was like a little green field that was down a trail, pretty good ways down a trail, and I figured that probably figured nobody was gonna go down there. So
Long way.
I went and parked at this trail. It was probably like 2 o'clock. And
0.76 miles.
yeah, it was 0.76 miles, which isn't too bad. I mean, that's a little under a mile. That's not too
It's
bad.
not too bad. It's not you're like, at the end of the day after you've been kind of hunting all day and
Yeah.
you ain't eat a lot, it's not the first thing you really want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's like when you first get out there and you're like, man, John killed deer, you want to go back there and see it, and you get back there and you see it, and everything's cool, and it's the camaraderie, and then it's like the idea of,
Now we gotta drag it out.
Now we gotta drag it out. Now the work begins.
Oh, that part was rough. Like I said, it only got worse from there. The drags were
We was
the
talking
drags got bad.
3 sticks.
Yeah, that was the
Three
next
things
step
of paracord.
up.
Yeah. We was good.
That was the next step up. We just tied some strings to it and tri-teamed it up out of there, three
Yeah.
Poor
speed.
boy here lay down halfway back.
It was rough.
I need a
dude.
cigarette.
It was rough. Alright, so anyway, let's see. Parked at this trail. I walked in. It's probably like 2 o'clock. And the field was real long. It was not very green when I got there. I looked on the map and it looked green, really green on the map. When I got there, it was basically brown. But there was one little spot of green grass about 10 foot wide in the middle of this field. So I went and walked the edge of it and looked around, looked maybe see where deer were coming in, and checked the wind and everything. And I got set up on the side where wind was blowing out of the green field. Okay, so wind was blowing this way. I was sitting on this edge. So, and I was watching the other edge. I sat down I had a little tripod chair that I put in my backpack, and I pulled it out and folded it out and just kind of tucked myself into like some briars, basically. I sat down, I was sitting there, I probably sat there, I don't know, an hour and a half or 2 hours. It wasn't very long. I was sitting there watching that field, and I looked down, and I was looking at something, I looked back up, and sure enough, what I thought originally, a little doe had walked out to the field. Okay, and at this point, I couldn't remember if you could kill a doe or not. No, you couldn't. You couldn't kill a doe.
Couldn't kill a doe.
You couldn't kill a doe at this point, and I thought that it was a doe.
Mm-hmm.
So it walked out into the field, and I sat there and watched it, and it walked directly to that one green patch in the middle of the field, and it was sitting there eating. And I sat there and watched it for about 10 minutes. It was probably about 80 yards away, and I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, maybe hoping a buck would come out there afterwards, and I got to looking at it. I thought I saw some light hit it weird, and I don't know, maybe something. I pulled up my scope just to look at it, and I zoomed in. And when I zoomed in, I could tell it was a little spike. Antlers on it was probably maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches long.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, that's some meat right there. That's legal. That's legal tender.
That's legal meat.
So I put my gun up on my knee and steadied up, and I shot, and he fell over right there. He didn't take a step, so I called them up, told them what was going on.
You actually pierced his ear too.
Oh yeah, pierced his ear. All right. He didn't take a step, but he did go down, and he was kicking. And I thought for a second that he was about to get back up and take off, and I felt that I couldn't risk that. So I shot at him again, And that second shot, I believe, hit him as well. But right when I had shot, apparently he had like turned his head kind of towards me, and the bullet went through its ear and into its body. And like when we found it afterwards, you could see through that deer's ear. It was like a perfect circle about this big. Look, it had been like somebody punched it with a hole punch. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
What was the next deer after that?
And then we had to drag it out.
Yeah, then that drag out was
We got 3 sticks about this long with about 6 foot of rope. We all got a stick and a rope and tied it around the deer, and we drug it back out. And it wasn't easy.
No.
It was a long day. It was at the end of the day. We hunted all day. It wasn't easy. Yeah, it wasn't
a big deer. It wasn't hard,
Big
really,
kill
but
spot.
it was just kind of like,
No, he killed that. It was a doe. You shot another deer with your gun before I shot that doe at Pretty Hills.
no, Waterloo.
Waterloo. Buttonhead
That
at
was
Waterloo.
Buttonhead
All
at
right,
Waterloo.
go ahead. Tell that story.
Buttonhead at Waterloo. We went
That was a
down
fun
there
day.
and didn't really have any idea what we was going to do. And had some kid with us that,
God bless his soul.
yeah, God bless his soul, I'm going to say. And anyway.
This wasn't the smartest kid I've ever seen, so I'm going to say. He wouldn't be taking directions properly.
And
He
so.
He eventually ventured off on his own.
Yeah. So before
And that
we
was a
get
whole
there,
ordeal in itself.
we went around checking some spots.
That was
We
a
were-
whole ordeal.
Went and checked this totally different spot. There's a long trail leading down to a little skinny field. This kid won't go off his own, so we let him. We go down to the end of the field. We walk down there, and there's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 deer laying on the ground.
Yeah, a couple deer bedded down.
Yeah, and a few of them
a couple
stand
stand
up.
eating.
A few of them stand up, a few of them laying down, and we basically just walk up on them, just looking at them. And
We
John-
stopped. We stopped in the middle of the field.
Yeah, just right there in the middle of the field. John pulls up, shoots.
Typical John.
Yeah, I had my backpack on my shoulders and everything, which I still feel is no excuse, but these deer were only probably like maybe 50, 60 yards maybe.
Yeah.
I pulled up and shot with my 30-30 and then shot again and missed. And at that point I stopped and looked at Dustin. And I looked at him dead in the eye and I was almost getting upset. I was like, bro, are you not gonna shoot, bro? They're like right there. Wait, don't wait on me to do it. You know what I'm saying?
And like I pulled up, seen the first deer I seen. I pulled up, I shot, seen it hump up, and run off. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I shot that deer. Went down there, found blood, found the deer. And in the midst of finding deer, another deer jumps up and is running away. And we're sitting there on the ground by the little buttonhead, just looking at him. John takes his deer call out and goes to calling at this deer like a wounded deer.
Fawn distress.
And this thing turns around and
Kick
comes back.
the leaves a little bit.
Yeah,
Like it was a deer trying to get up.
Yeah, he played it off good.
Yeah.
Played it off good.
Kick the leaves a little bit.
Ends up coming back. And
Came right back.
Bless his heart.
I got that doe fever, man.
That doe fever got him.
I got that doe fever.
That doe come into like 50 yards.
Maybe less. I'm saying like 40.
40,
Probably about 40.
Yeah, about 40 yards. 40, 50 yards.
The cursed 30-30, dude.
Yeah.
Gonna grab up. Gonna grab.
This is take number dose.
Alright. Our camera messed up. That's his fault. He's the cameraman.
It's Nikon's fault, man. Yeah.
Our camera
Oh,
cut
it's
off.
not
We sat there and rambled for like at least 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
Alright, where were we?
Doe fever, dude.
I missed.
Doe fever, you missed.
Missed at 50 yards. Go ahead.
Missed at 50 yards.
It was horrible.
Drug the deer out. Couldn't find the kid we brought with us.
Yeah, explain that.
If you're hunting with a hunting party, stick to the plan. And that'll go back to the next story. Sticking to the plan. The next deer kill.
What was it?
I do believe it was
Freedom
Amy's
Hills doe. The thunderstorm doe.
Alright.
thunderstorm doe.
Alright, we'll start like we did last time.
And like I said, remember, sticking to the plan because
My plan was,
Hold
I
on.
had said before this, I was not going to shoot no does.
We weren't gonna shoot no does.
he wasn't going to shoot does. I was supposed to meet John at his truck. I didn't have a cell phone.
Alright, I'll explain. I'll try to explain quickly.
all the plans changed real fast.
Because it was kind of took a minute last time. All right. Went and hunted some new spots. He went and hunted a spot that he knew. I went to a new spot and he went to a new spot. They were all really close together. I went into a spot of some public land and I found a shooting house. I sat down inside of it and I waited probably like 2 hours. I never saw anything. It was a good spot, it seemed like, but after about 2 hours, it was about 30 minutes from dark, and I could see some clouds rolling in, and it just started to get that feeling in the air like it was about to become a serious storm. So I already was thinking right then. I was kind of far from the truck. They didn't know where I was, so I was like, if a doe comes by right now, I'd let it walk. But if a buck came by, I'd shoot it. But I wouldn't shoot a doe right now. It's about to storm, you can tell. So anyway, a couple minutes later, I heard a gun shut off in the distance. And it wasn't that far. I knew it was one of them. So I gather my stuff and I go back to my truck. And I'm about halfway back to my truck and it starts raining. And it's not too bad, but it's starting to lighten. And the wind's starting to pick up real good. About by the time I get to my truck, all hell breaks loose.
Dark.
I mean, it's dark. It's lightning like crazy. The wind's blowing like 50 miles an hour. And it's raining harder than I've ever seen. I mean, it was just pouring down raining. I'm waiting for this man. We're supposed to meet at my truck. He's not there. I'm flashing my headlights. He doesn't show up. While I'm doing that, waiting for him, I get a phone call from him saying it was he who killed the deer. And I told him, I was like, well, I'm waiting on Dustin. Whenever Dustin gets back, we'll go over there. We'll meet up and we'll meet up and go drag it out and everything. So I waited about 10 more minutes and I don't know if Dustin's ever coming. I don't know if he's lost or what. I get a phone call from a random phone number and I answer. And it's Dustin saying, hey, meet me over here at Andy's car, blah, blah. I was like, all right. I don't even know how he had called me at this point. I didn't know. I don't know if he had flagged somebody down the road or what. So I went over there and met him, and then you can go pick up from what happened there.
Yeah, so I was sitting in my stand, and I heard the shot, and it sounded like it came from where John was sitting. So I climbed down, walked in that direction, give John a few hoots. Never heard anything back. I could tell it was getting darker in the sky. Storm was rolling in pretty hard, and I didn't want to cut, dead across this cutover I wasn't real familiar with in the dark and through a storm, so if I went this way, it's toward John's truck through a cutover that didn't run no good, or it was just follow this road towards Andy's car. So I just hit the road towards Andy's car. About 3/4 of the way there, it's raining so hard I can't see, and it's lightning so much that I take my stand off and just toss it on the ground. And I get to Andy's car, I see some people across the road at their house standing out in the carport. So I run over there, use their phone to call John, and then
turned out to be a wildlife biologist.
Yeah, turned out to be a wildlife biologist.
Had a green truck sitting in the driveway.
Yeah, so
what are you talking about?
So
yeah, if you hunt in Alabama, you know that.
Green breeches, green
Yeah.
trucks.
yeah, green truck in the driveway. So I was sure they was gonna let me use their phone. Use their phone, call John, and I was just, at this point, like when I called John, he still has not told me that Andy shot a duck. So it's still pouring down rain. I see John coming down the hill. And
My car was moving from the wind.
yeah, I run over there and meet John. I'm like, so what is it, dude? What is it? He's like, he shot a doe, man. And I'm like, what? What?
It was pouring down rain,
He
and it's
shot-
nighttime already.
He shot a doe, man. He shot a doe. So I was like, oh my God. So we go meet him in the rain. It's still pouring down rain. Roads is just nothing but mud. And it ain't that good mud either. It's that slick mud.
It's clay.
It's that clay,
It
slick
sucks
clay.
so bad that I hate hunting that spot.
It's the type of mud where you walk 10 feet and your boots have their own boot around it of just mud that's about this thick, and like it makes your shoes
It's like
feel
a gray
heavy.
clay, dude.
It make you want some strong legs. Walk around that shit all day.
You even call my girlfriend.
You have 10 pounds of mud on each boot.
So we
It's crazy.
me and John go meet up with Andy, and he's dragging the doe out. And just because me and John was kind of salty about it, we made Andy drag the doe out another, 150 yards by himself.
Well, he's talking a little trash.
Yeah, he's talking a little
smack,
trash.
dude.
So
Little
I'm
smack
sitting
talk.
in the tree stand. Okay.
Yeah.
And I done witnessed a beaver at like 30 yards.
All right.
Could have killed the beaver.
I would have.
Yeah. But this doe comes in to my left, and I'm hunting this big hump next to this creek. That's all I'm gonna say. She walks down this hump, which I was like, deer not gonna come from this way. It's not possible. It's like flooded hump, creek, whatever. She comes walking down this hump, instantly knows where I'm at, blows at me a couple of times, just dashes through this creek, making all hellacious noise. Alright, so she's over here to my left, she's walking in front of me. This other doe comes in, and she totally knew I was there too, but they were both just stomping, pissed off, whatever. It was just getting dark, and I'm in some little hardwoods, I got trees over me. I didn't even look at the sky. And as soon as I shoot this doe, she drops him, and she never even moved. Double lung pads that never shoot the ground.
That's what you want.
But as soon as I shoot this doe, it starts raining. Not one little bit of rain it hit before I shot that doe. Shoot her. It's like, hell yeah, hell yeah. It's gonna suck now, but hell yeah. Starts raining. I get over there. I prop my phone up. There's a light, and I have my flashlight on. There's a light, and I gut this doe as quick as you ever seen. Get the guts out. My flashlight was not as good a light as the lightning was.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
The
I'm
lightning
sure.
was so much better.
It was a lot.
I could, my flashlight, I
lightning.
could see from here to that wall because it was raining so hard.
Yeah.
This is.
It was crazy lightning,
This
dude.
is fucked. It was fucked out.
Yeah. It was fucked out.
It was fucked out. And had my harness on. I had like the tether to the tree.
Yeah.
Strapped it to my back and then wrapped it around her head
Yeah.
and drug her out like just.
Yeah.
Alright, and when I called you, I was having to stand over my phone on speakerphone because the rain was so bad.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd done screwed my phone up because my pockets were like this deep in water.
Damn.
Pockets.
Jeez.
So I had to put my phone in the fanny pack, and it's like, I called you. You knew where my car was. I was on the way, whatever. I was running this deer to the woods, and like it was terrible. She kept coming off, or I'd have to like pull her over a log, and like it's just where I was at. You had one way in and one way out because it was either cut over or like flooded timber. So it was like just a strip that I had a camera on. I was getting juicy bucks, on some scrapes and stuff like that, and a bunch of does. I slaughtered this doe. Finally got her to the opening. Ended up walking like completely off the little path of the cutover and was like way over here. And y'all come walking in. And I was like, man, I even asked, like, how do I get there, bro? Where's the road y'all at? Like, I can't really see.
He was just walking through cutover.
Yeah, just pulling this doe, like probably in a circle.
Through the rain, dude.
Yeah,
just
like
through the
like
cutover.
a fool, like a court gesture. Fool. So I finally like get her up under the road, and y'all helped me a little piece.
Yeah,
Dustin helped me the most.
We had
and
like
you was
200
like
yards.
just walking to the car.
I helped a little bit.
You did help, but
helped a little bit.
Dustin helped the most.
Hey man, it's hard for three. We didn't have no rope set up. And it's hard for 3 people to get on a deer like that.
At that point, I believe we was dragging her
I had one leg.
one leg and somebody had her by the ear.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It wasn't good.
Fast forward.
Yeah, get her to the truck. I had to go check her in, which at that point that I got to the truck, the check-in station had closed.
Yeah.
So I still had to go ride her down.
Yeah.
Y'all went home.
Yeah.
Like froze my ass off.
Man, we
In the
went
rain.
home so wet, dude.
50-mile-an-hour wind.
We talked shit
Lightning.
the whole way home. Just know, the whole way home.
At
we was
one
like,
point
man,
I
I
thought-
can't believe he shot that
I
deer
left my
right
climbing stand in
there. We
the
got
woods
meat, this and that.
because I was afraid I'd get hit by lightning.
Alright, anyways, what's the next deer after that?
The next deer would be my spot,
Alright, tell that story.
I do believe.
Would it be your spike or was it John's buck?
I don't know. I think it was the
That
spot.
was my spot.
Was it your spike?
We got pictures?
At the house.
You got pictures? What date was it?
He was on vacation in Texas.
Yeah.
And I was broke, not gonna lie. I was broke completely. And I was like, I need some dog food. So my goal was to not shoot this deer for my own consumption, but for all our hunting dogs. It is December 8th.
Alright, you go next then.
So I killed I was sitting in by the house in these woods, and there was this holler like this, and I found me a dead log up here on top. I was just like sitting up on the log with my gun propped up, and like I could hear something coming, hauling ass out of this creek bottom, right over the point of this ridge. And I looked, and it's a big deer, big bodied deer.
Continue.
And it come over the hill, and was walking down the edge of this, down the side of this ridge, and I had a 22-250. And as soon as it hit this little opening, I tried to get it to stop. It never stopped. I shot this deer walking at a pretty fast rate through the woods. And as soon as I shoot him at like 60 yards, he drops right off in this bottom, comes running up the hill at me. And like gets like 30 yards from me. Stops, runs back down to the bottom, which is like 10 yards. And just piles up dead. Piled up over his head dead.
That's crazy.
Alright.
That dog food spike.
Dog food spike. We'll call it.
Boom. This one. Alright. This deer came out, I don't mind people knowing where I killed this deer. Came out of Riverton Wildlife Management area.
The Alabama outdoor range.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the location in that wildlife management area that I killed, but I will say it was killed from Riverton Wildlife Management area. And I was super proud of that. That's my first real deal public land buck. Like I said, I killed that public land spike this year, but that's the first real deal buck I've killed. And it was nice. I found this spot in Riverton last year. And I've seen a bunch of deer come through there. I shot at a deer last year and missed it. It was a doe. And it's a good spot. They both last year had climbing stands and they would climb up. And at this point last year, I didn't have a climbing stand. So I was just looking for spots where I could hunt off the ground and good. And the spot that I found was basically on top of a ridge that looks down into this big, like it's in the hardwoods, but it's open enough to where you can see a couple different directions. You can see one direction about 200-300 yards. It's so open. It goes down this big valley. It's a point that watches a couple different little valleys and some hardwoods. And every deer I've seen, well, we saw a couple deer that one day. That's the only deer that I've seen in that area that don't come from this side over here. They always seem to come from this one side, and they usually walk this one single trail. There's like a spot that comes up on the side of this ridge, and it planes off level about 200 yards in both directions, and it's just got a bunch of acorns that drop there, and I feel like they just use that little spot and just pick up acorns. Well, anyway,
he's just way up to the top of the hill.
yeah, it is, and it's like it's just a nice little travel way. There's one little spot that's like, it just looks perfect, like you could come up there. Well, anyway, I was sitting there watching that spot, and I didn't get there that day until I went hunting by myself. They both had to work. I didn't get there that day until probably 2 p.m. I overslept like crazy. I slept in. And I didn't end up getting there until about 2 p.m. And it's about a 20-minute walk in at least. And I went and sat down at my spot, and I sat there maybe an hour. And it was so cold this day, and I mean it was windy. It was like 20-mile-per-hour winds. I was scared that I was about like limbs was gonna drop on me. I was hearing limbs drop. You know, it was windy. I was sitting, it was so cold, and I'd sit there several times and being like, man, I'm only gonna get to hunt for like 2 hours anyway. I'd love to just go home right now. I don't know if today's gonna be the day. Like, I just don't know about it. I was not feeling it. I came so close so many times to just stand up and leave. But I didn't. A couple minutes later, I heard something walking up the trail, and I looked, and it was a little doe. And it came walking up, and it stopped where most of them stopped, probably about 60, 70 yards from me. And it stopped me. I was sitting there, and it was like looking around. It was being super cautious the whole time. When I first saw it, it was staring dead at me. I don't know how that it had even got into my view to where it was, and I didn't see it, but it was looking dead at me when I first saw it. But ended up spooking and going off a little bit, and I sat there and I waited about 4 or 5 minutes, and I heard another deer come up, and I thought it might have been that same deer. I didn't know at first, but it looked like it was either twice as big. It was either twice as big or twice as close, and I couldn't tell. It was really hard to tell from the way it was. So that deer took a couple more steps, and I could see from where I was sitting that it was not the same deer. It had a pretty nice rack on it. So it ended up walking that same exact trail that doe had walked. I mean, it like he was walking in her footsteps. and he probably stopped at probably like, I don't know, 60, 70 yards, something like that. And I believe it was my 308. I had just bought a 308 not long before that for Black Friday. So it was probably 2 weeks before that. And I ended up, when I ended up shooting, he was actually, his shoulder and his neck was blocked by like a tree. The only thing I could see was like stomach to fucking rear end versus like his head. That's all I could see. His shoulder, his good vitals were blocked. And the way that he was gonna go, I thought that it was over. I thought that was like the only shot that I was gonna have. And you gotta understand where I was sitting. It's so high up, and I'm shooting down that I'm shooting through tops of trees that are where he is. Like it's really a weird shot. It's super steep. But I ended up shooting him basically at like an angle through like the spine at a downward angle. And he dropped, his back legs dropped, and he walked about 2 feet, dragged himself about 2 feet to where I could see he went into a perfect spot. And I shot one more time, and it was a pretty good vital shot. And he kicked the buck in about 10 seconds. And then I called them at work because I couldn't believe what I had just done. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I didn't record that day or anything, but we do have a couple pictures and a very small amount of footage that he videoed. He helped me. He was busy that night, but he helped me come drag it out. It was the roughest drag of the season, I'll say it. I think that hands down, that was the roughest drag of the season.
Like
your buck was bad. Your buck, the
yeah.
one that you killed, that we're gonna talk about, that one was crazy. But that was the roughest drag I think I've ever done. It was nothing but uphill, and I think it took us about 5 hours. I think it was about a 5-hour ordeal. We didn't get done until 5 in the morning. It was crazy. It was awful. I went and bought a deer cart.
Seemed it
Didn't help at all, for real. It probably made it harder.
Elevator, dude.
Ain't nothing you knew you climbed a mountain like this.
It probably made it harder.
But
it was crazy, and I couldn't believe it. It looks awesome. Beautiful, dude. He's beautiful. Look, when I found this deer, he had little wood chips all over his bases here on his beams where he had been rubbing trees. His whole patch up here was a lot more brown from where it had been rubbing cedar trees like. My dog hates this deer. It hates it more than anything I've ever seen. What is it? It's crazy. But this is first buck I ever killed. And he was public land, I'm proud of it. Hush, baby. She barked loud, dude. He was great, dude. And the taxidermist did a great job, in my opinion. Did a great job. Shouts out to him, dude. It was the first deer I've ever had mounted. Super proud of it, public land bucks. I'm super pumped. Super pumped. I hope I can replicate it again next season. I feel like it taught me a lot.
what was
Next deer. I believe it was your 5-point.
No,
Was it not? 6-point shooting.
it was a 6-1. Was it the bow?
Yeah.
First bow buck.
I'd like to say one thing before you say that. This man's killed good deer. That's the first buck I've ever killed. A couple days after I killed this buck, I get a text message from Dustin. He's like, man, look, dude, I gotta kill me a buck. You done got me jelly, dog. He was like, we gotta get out there. And I was like, look, dude, that's cool. I was so happy that I had killed a buck. I didn't care if I ever killed another buck again at that point. I was like, we can go, I don't even take a gun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, so at that point, we were on the chase to try to get this man a buck because he wanted it.
Yeah.
He wanted it
I
bad.
had to get a buck, and like I done missed a buck.
Missed a good one, apparently.
Real good buck. Real good buck. Missed him twice, I will say that. I mean, I missed him, he ran like 5 more yards.
You forget the 6-point.
Huh?
Skipping the 6-point.
No, I'm not.
This happened before the 6-point, what are you saying right now? The deer that he missed.
No.
He missed a deer before that 6-point.
This is the span of days I had.
That's true, yes.
First 3
Yeah.
days at a specific public land that we hunt. The first 3 days that we hunted, this is what happened. First evening said, had a really nice I don't know what, 6 or 7 point or something like that. Come in, grunt behind the doe, draw back, miss. He runs like 5 yards, draw back, miss again. I was devastated. Hit up John. John goes hunting with me like the next morning, or like a couple days later or something.
Yeah.
Like a couple days after that, John goes hunting with me, and I'd done decided at that point. At this point in my bow hunting career, though, that was the 3rd really nice buck that I'd missed, and I thought, maybe you just gotta just take the stair step of shooting a small buck, and then you can shoot a good buck.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Next shootable buck I seen with my bow, I shot a small little 6 point, about like this, but I was proud of it.
He's decent.
Oh, it was
He's
beautiful.
decent.
Beautiful little 6 point.
Great public land buck.
Yeah.
Great pulling buck, shook me up just the way I wanted to with the bow in my hand. And then, I do believe it was the very next morning.
It was the next day.
The very next morning, me and Andy go hunt, and I end up shooting the biggest deer I've ever seen with a bow in my hand, and a big 7 point, and that right there is
It was crazy.
like sitting there, sent Andy to where I'd missed the buck, the previous buck, and then I was like, well, I'll just walk down here and try to find a little spot. And I was looking here and yonder, and the reason I picked the spot I picked is because there was a huge thicket over here, nice draw leading up out of the river bottom to it. So I hunted that draw leading up out of the river bottom, and I seen a buck that morning. After I climbed up, it wasn't, I don't know, 30 minutes after I climbed up. Seen a buck cruising through the river bottom. Grunted at him a few times. Look, messing my story up.
Sorry.
Seen a buck in the river bottom, grunted at him a few times, and he instantly kind of changed posture, made a scrape, turn, come straight up the ridge to me, and he was walking in. The thing that really got me is when he's coming through the thicket down below me, he was swinging his head like this, getting to the branches, and at that point, I was almost sick, just shaking, shook
It'll
up.
do it to you.
Oh man, it
It'll
had
do
me
it
messed
to you.
up. And I drew back on him like 3 different times, and on the 3rd drawback, I shot. But the first 2, like I'd draw back, he'd be walking, I'd try to stop him, he wouldn't stop. He'd be walking, I'd try to stop him, he wouldn't stop. And last time I draw back, he walked up in this little opening, and he had his nose to the ground, and he stopped for just a split second, smelling the ground, and I sent it. And I heard the arrow that, and kind of kicked a little bit, run 30 yards, stopped, looked around, took off, and I thought right then, I just missed another good deer. I just missed another good deer. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I sat there arguing with myself for about 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm gonna climb down and at least go look. Climbed down, went down and looked around, and seen where I thought the deer was, where I thought he kicked, followed that trail, ended up finding blood. As soon as I found that blood, I hit my knees. The YouTube community don't think it's a huge buck, but I think it's a huge buck. Biggest
Pretty
buck
good
there.
buck. For where we live,
Yeah, dude.
damn
That
nice.
is the,
Damn nice to where
that
we
was
live.
definitely the biggest whitetail killed on that public land
This year.
Yeah, this year, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And I mean, it's not no Boone and Crockett or nothing, but gosh dang, man.
It's pretty
It's
good.
a broke ankle, broke a brow. It was a
Yeah.
set.
He's a rough old buck too.
Yeah.
Dude,
His ear was messed
I'm gonna
up.
have him aged.
He was a rough old buck. He had some hard time. At the meat processor, they found a different broadhead in them.
Yeah, they thought I left broadhead in. Was mad about it.
It was. I mean, he had some hard times. His ear was
God,
broke, flopped
missed him
down.
the day before.
Yeah, God missed him the day before. Had a broke ear. His ear was flopped down, ripped all the way in half. But I thought it was a really nice buck.
It's a beautiful dog.
Beautiful buck, best buck I ever seen walk in on with a bow.
You don't think so? Then fuck you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's pretty good size.
Two of the best days of deer hunting I've
You know,
had
there's a video
in my
out.
life was back-to-back bow kills. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And
It's a beautiful thing, dude.
what was the next deer after that?
Well, I'd like to say about my little experiences.
Those
Before
are- wait,
you
no.
talk about the last deer kill, which will be your 5 point.
Oh yeah,
I
5
had-
Freedom Hills.
I had 4 run-ins with shooter bucks in a span of about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This man was having
And-
bad troubles.
They'd either be chasing a doe and it wouldn't come to me, they'd stop and scrape, and I'd snort wheeze them. I'd run at them, they'd stop, they'd do rubs, they'd scrape, and they'd walk off. But one morning I did climb up right before dark, or right before daylight, and I grunted 2 times, like, bleh, bleh, and I heard this awful racket come out of this thicket. And this good deer, I couldn't really tell. He was like this.
Yeah.
Comes in and just,
Mm.
and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it was like still kind of, it was definitely legal shooting lock,
Yeah.
but I couldn't really tell where he was at. I
Yeah.
could just see antlers just kind of like back and forth.
Yeah.
And the son of a bitch stops, turns around and walks right back in the thicket. And 2 does come out of that thicket and walk right to me. It was like, where's this other deer I heard? He just stayed there. Like, middle of that day, another buck comes through chasing a doe from behind me,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get him to stop.
Troubles, man.
And
Troubles.
then I had a
always a deer
beautiful
hunt.
half-rack buck come walking through the woods on me. Solid one side.
Yeah.
He come walking through the woods. I snort wheezed him, running him. He stopped, come right to me. 27 yards.
Yeah.
Draw back.
Yeah.
Felt good about everything. Sent it. Have no idea. How long did we look for that arrow? 3 hours?
3
at least?
hours.
Just looking for the arrow.
Just the arrow.
Right? We walked 6 miles looking for this deer.
Yeah.
Never found a bit of blood.
Like,
Never found my arrow.
couldn't find nothing.
It just
No hair, no
it all
blood.
vanished. And went to hell. And that
I
was
think it was a
pretty
result.
much the sum of my year.
Yeah, something happened.
Something happens, dude. You know that happens.
Shit happens. Beautiful
Shit
year,
happens.
dude. But that was
Learned a lot.
the kick in the gut for me.
Last 5 point. Go ahead, spit it out.
Oh yeah, last off one.
Yeah.
Tagged out this year. First time in Alabama.
Proud, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Very happy about that. Very happy about that. Nonetheless, in Freedom Hills.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
That was really cool. But we went and hunted this spot that we got a little bit of history with. Usually see deer at this spot. And the only reason we went and hunted it was because our original plan had been full
There's a guy there.
by competition. Well, you gotta have spots in the
That's
back
public
pocket.
land.
You gotta have spots
That's
in the back
public land.
pocket ready to pull them out. So we pulled a spot out. We went in there and we hunted. I set John up. We ain't gonna talk about that. I set John up, helped him get up a tree. We ain't gonna talk
Wasn't
about
good.
that. He didn't like
He
that.
wasn't good.
That spot I
Bad
put him.
time.
But I went down, hunted other spots. I found a really, really, really fresh rub that looked really good. Walked down from it, and I set in like a triple threat of terrain. So I'm sitting in hardwoods with a little stream running behind me. I got like a big pine thicket to my left with 30-foot pines. Way out in front of me on a ridge point, I got shorter pines, and to my right, I got cut over. So I'm sitting in a big transition zone. I sat there, till about 12:30, ain't seen a deer. Just thinking, man, I'm gonna climb down, look around a little bit. As I'm climbing down, see a deer coming right to me, and it's a weird looking little spike or something. I don't know, spike or 3-point, something funky looking. He comes through, goes up to the woods behind me. I was like, okay, I'll sit here. So I sat there another hour, climbed down. I think right at 120, and I wanted to go check this big pine thicket out over here to my left. So I climbed down. Went walking up the pine thicket, just following the stream, walking down a deer trail, not really expecting to see a deer, and just happened to look up, and where the sunlight shining through the pines, I see a rat coming to me. I pull up, put the scope on it, and right off the bat I could tell it's a legal deer, had to be a legal deer. I shot, it was a facing shot, looking right at me, shot him right in the neck, he dropped. Went up there, it ended up being a 5 point. I thought it was a little better than a 5 point, but it was a 5 point.
It's a pretty good 5 point.
It was a big 5 point.
That was a good.
Pretty good 5 point.
This is a pretty good mature.
Freedom Hills has some weird racks.
Yeah, I mean, I've
That's
seen
just how they are out there in Freedom Hills.
I've seen
a
that
lot of them are really weird.
that same exact rack formation.
Yeah.
I've seen many times.
It's not very good either.
No,
It's
it's
pretty
just
poor.
big forker like
Yeah.
this, maybe 2 brow times, more than likely 1. And that's what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love killing those unique deer like that. He was probably a 3-year-old deer.
He had a hurt leg, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a
His
bro-
knee had been like it had been broke and then healed up.
Yeah, it was like the size of a baseball.
Yeah, it was healed up. One of his like front joints.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Yeah, his knee was like, I mean, it was way bigger than it should have been. I guess maybe his elbow. I don't know.
He was
It was a good season. All in all, I had a great time, and I can't wait till next
I
season.
cannot wait. We're gonna start scouting out now.
Yep. This week we're gonna go ahead and put some more cameras out, change some stands around, maybe. We're gonna do. We got a couple things we're gonna do.
We got the fever, dude.
And we're about to show, we'll probably get a nice close-up of this deer, and we'll get a nice close-up of all the public land meat we have in our freezer. We had to go buy a freezer. Just how much meat did we have? I don't know.
200 something
Well over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
250 pounds at least, I would say. And we'll show it in just a second.
I believe we ended up killing 10 deer.
Yeah, something like that.
Doves counted, bucks counted. You killed 3 bucks. He killed 2 bucks. I killed 1 buck.
There's various does.
Yeah.
The doe was thrown in the mix there.
Yeah, various.
We got a lot. It's been a great season.
Been good.
Good job, boys. Good job. Proud to do with you.
Lot better than last.
Lot better than last season. Lot better than last season.
Gonna be better than that.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, come look at all of our meat. This is our new addition to the family, dude. Alright, this is about what the end of the season last year looked
Roll
like.
Tide.
This is about what the end of the season last year looked like. You know, there's some deer meat in there. You know, it looks alright. But this is what it looks like this season. Look at that, man. Don't that look nice?
Pull that box up.
Yeah,
right
we
there.
gotta pull that box up, dude. That's just straight straps.
That's strap.
This is a bunch of straps and, you know, big
Roast
hole
meat.
cuts, shoulders, things like that. And then we have all the ground meat you could ever ask. It's deep, too. There's layers.
Oh, it's like
There's layers upon layers of ground meat in there.
it's that deep in ground meat, so it's halfway full of ground meat, bro.
Boys, I'd say we did good this year.
We did.
That right there is what we do it for. That's what we do it for. Deer meat for dinner every night.
Yes.
Every night.
Stroganoff,
You
tacos.
can't buy this. This is
Quesadillas.
priceless material in here. You can't go to Walmart and buy it.
No.
I'm glad you can. Alright. That's it.
We went and found it.
You gotta go find it. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
That's it.
Something stands.